All right. Yo, Jeff here. Sci-fi Express Lane. Jeff Carroll, writer, comic book creator, filmmaker, all of that. So I'm here. I want to talk to you about expanding the parameters of horror. Not just what scares us, but like what horror is. And I think what I'm going to use as my example is, and this is a spoiler free, right? I'm going straight in. This is all spoiler, alert. This is not a no spoiler. So if you didn't see The Exorcist, stop watching. I hate to say it, but I'm going to talk about The Exorcist. If you don't plan on seeing it, I'm going to encourage you to see it. But if you want to watch this, just continue watching it, knowing that I'm going to talk about some things in The Exorcist. All right, The Exorcist 2. Exorcist. I don't know if it's Exorcist 2 or 3 or 4. I think it's Exorcist Believers. All right. But it brings up The Exorcist Believers brings up horror and normal horror tropes in Hollywood movies, in Western culture. And a lot of those tropes are very closely related to Christianity. They're closely related to H.P. Lovecraft. And when they step out of those realms, they become foreign films. They become something different. Japan likes to deal with the other tropes. But even when they do foreign films, they relate it all back to Western tropes. And one of those biggest tropes is Christianity. And when it comes to possessions of children, normally, if it's not called a poltergeist, if they need to get a demon out of them and they need to do what's called an exorcism, it's involving a Catholic priest and the Catholic Church and the Catholic interpretation of the Bible. Why do I say all of that, right? So exorcism is a Catholic word. It's a Catholic Christian word. It doesn't exist in the Protestant church. It doesn't exist in the Methodist, the Baptist, Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah's Witness. I don't know. I don't know about Jehovah's Witness. But I do know because all of them really come from the Catholic Church. Because the Roman Catholic Church is the father, mother church of all of the Christian denominations. It was only after they had political differences did they decide we want to become the Protestants. The Protestants of King James's harsh interpretation and oppressive use of Christianity, that they formed the Protestants, and Martin Luther separated. And then from some of the other denominations, there are other political reasons why they set up different denominations. But anyway, the Roman Catholic Church is the core. And in that core, you have various tenets as it relates to exorcisms, the Bible. You have the holy water. You have the cross. These things also bled over to vampires, because vampires are extensions. It depends on which show you watch. They're extensions of demonic relations. They're byproduct of something demonic, some demonic activity. Dracula is in some incarnations a demon himself. So the holy water and the cross bleed over to that. But in some places, Dracula doesn't follow along with being affected by holy water or from a cross. However, it's that, strong tenets that make the Catholic so strong in certain horrors, specifically exorcism horrors, but then it bleeds over into a lot of horror. Now, mind you, in concept, the devil is more universal than those tenets. You know, the devil is more universal than Jesus Christ. Okay, there's religions and beliefs that have devilish elements that don't have a Jesus Christ. You understand? So the devil is more universal than Jesus Christ, or more prevalent, than Jesus Christ. So I say all of that to say that even with the devil, you see a Christian practice, interpretation of the devil. So they not only monopolize demons, they monopolize the devil itself, even though there's devil is in religions that don't have a Jesus, right? What else? I don't know. So I remember when I read a book, the Minion series, Vampire Huntress series of L.A. Banks, and in her series, she had a multi-religious council that oversaw the supernatural activities, particularly by her huntress. So she sort of answered in the way Buffy had a high council in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Hers high council was of Muslim priests, it was Buddhist monks, it was shamans from India and Hindu, it was different denominations in Christianity, it was Voodoo, it was Santeria, it was Yoruba. So you had the African ones, and I don't know, if they had a root doctor from South Africa or something. I don't know if they had a Nubian from Kemet. They usually try to bring in some Egyptian priest, but I don't know if hers had it. But what I like about her universe was the first universe that I read or experienced that approached the supernatural in a greater than Christian, greater than Catholic religious interpretation. And that was amazing. That was amazing. And never did I see that on the big screen until The Exorcist, Believers. This one that just came out this past Friday, the 6th or whatever it was. And in that story, not only did they expand it beyond the Christian Catholic monopoly, it actually dissed the Christian Catholic monopoly. The priest was scared to go in. Then when the priest went in, because the church didn't sanction it, the demon killed him. It didn't kill nobody else, just killed him. And that was crazy. But that sent a strong message. And then people talk to me about, I'm not hearing the Exorcist Believers is getting good reviews, and I think the reviews can be negative because of the fact of it wasn't scary. It was lightweight scary. It didn't have, the drag scenes like the Nun movies and the Conjurings have. Didn't have the flash. It tried a little bit of all of that, but it wasn't perfect. And I think people are expecting something like that, particularly from a movie like The Exorcist. They wanted that Conjuring energy. They wanted that energy from the Nun, and it didn't give that. Okay, but what it did give was a good story. So despite not having those elements, what it did have was really good, and the story made sense. So I like that part of it. I like the fact that the story made sense. The other thing I liked was that it did multi-religious size it. I don't know if that's a word, but it had interdenominational faiths. It started with Voodoo, Then they brought in the Protestant regular Christian American church. It had a lady who was actually, had studied to be a nun. She was in the story. And then they had a root worker, a naturopath, which would be a witch, but it was a black lady. So you didn't know whether she was practicing Yoruba, Santeria, or voodoo, right? But they started the movie off in Haiti, so they brought all of that in there, and I think that's a really cool thing. I'm happy that they did it. I'm glad that they put that in there. I think it means a lot for horror because H.P. Lovecraft and the Catholic Church have dominated Hollywood and Western horror tropes. And they're not the only ones. They should not be dominating it that much. It should be one interpretation of what scares us, right? Or religious horror, right? Because there's other religions. And then in America, there's other religions in America. And there's other religious fighters for the supernatural and advocate for us that even if we do experience something, we shouldn't, the Catholic Church shouldn't be our go-to, right? And we relied on that so much. So in the efforts of Black identity in science fiction and horror, this is a beautiful thing for us because it didn't happen in a Black movie. It hadn't been in a movie with Black people in it, and sometimes white people will write experimental things with Black characters, like male writers will write things that they did not think of before for female characters, and they try to be so different. So this one had that variation, and of course they made the Black characters in it very present. They brought in voodoo, and it wasn't a white person practicing voodoo, or else it would have felt weird. They had a Haitian, and it went in actually in Haiti. The root doctor, that was a real person. The main go-to person that was a activist mother was, open-minded herself. She was open-minded. So that changed a lot in terms of the scope of the film and the fact that the central character had an open-mindedness towards religion. And not only, I just want to, we should try something different. She supported her position with evidence in the movie. She said she went on a rant and they wrote it really nice. So I advocate for that. I know I am a practicer of what I preach, but I also advocate other people to do similar things. And one of the things that I'm advocating for is, for us to expand our religious teachings. Don't just do Black, white things, the same thing that white people did with Black people. That's not the good goal. The good goal is for us to get into our own interpretations, which they do exist. This movie didn't make up voodoo. This movie didn't make up Santeria. This movie didn't make up the Protestant religion. But yet they used them to help somebody in an exorcism. You understand? This wasn't anti-faith Ghostbusters. This wasn't somebody who is an atheist that's a Ghostbuster. This was a real thing. And so to me, this means a lot. I think this is, it's being attacked by the probably like Catholic religious people or the industry, who are in the industry. But I think once people see the movie, they'll be like, oh, wow, it's good. It's not corny movies. Why did the critics slam it? And then we'll find out why the critics slammed it, or we start speculating about it. But I think because of what its assembly, it's amazing, and it is an example of the expansion of horror to something multicultural, which it should be in the first place, unless it's specifically a Catholic horror story, not just a horror story. All right? Jewish people, they got their own interpretation. You think they're going to call a Catholic person to exercise? No. Come on. They don't believe in Jesus. They're before Judaism. So anyway, that's it. Like, subscribe, share, and of course, comment. Jeff Carroll out.